Okay, we are live. Hello, you beautiful YouTube viewers. Christina Martine here. So I know that I said I was taking a break from my YouTube, but today I am making an exemption because I am talking to the beautiful and wise Charis Melina Brown, who is a spiritual teacher, an author, a healer, so much more. You can find her online courses through charismelina.com, and there we go, better lighting. She recently also opened up an online community specifically to help empower women, which I'm a part of. So go check it out through her website. And it's really refreshing to see women coming together to empower each other rather than compete. It's amazing. So go check it out. Go check her out if you don't already know her. She has so much wisdom to offer the world. So hello, Charis. How are you? Thank you for joining me.
Hello. It's so nice to be here. Thank you for having me so much. It's beautiful to talk to you. I love, love, love your energy and your wisdom and your life. So thank you for doing what you do.
Yeah. Where are you right now?
Oh, I'm in Kauai, in Hawaii.
Wow.
So there's some trees. I'm actually on a little plantation right now where they did a luau the other day and told about the story, this great myth of the people who came over from Tahiti on their canoes and all these super epic dances and fire spinning and stuff. So I came back to record here because the lawn's so nice.
Are you there just on like vacation or working?
Kinda, yeah. You know, it's one of those things I've been trying to come for a really long time. And since, you know, when you work online, you can kind of do it anywhere. So just bring your computer and your MiFi card and you go. Yeah.
Wow. What's the weather like? How hot is it there?
It's about maybe in the 80s during the day and in the 70s during the night. So it's pretty warm, but it's nice and humid. So from being in the desert, my skin and my hair are just like, thank you.
Aw, okay. Let's see. So my first question for you is, so you have 2 master's degrees and decided to leave school 3 months shy of graduating with a PhD. So what was the impetus for that decision and how has it impacted your life?
Ooh, well, it was really interesting. I never in a million years thought that I would do that. If you had told me when I was applying for PhD programs and as I was in school for all those years that I was going to stop 3 months before, I would have been mortified. I would not have been cool with it at all. But what happened was right when it was time to be getting deep into my dissertation, because on my way, like I had to write 2 theses on my way there. Writing was never an issue for me. I could always just churn stuff out. It's no big deal. But as I was writing my dissertation, every time I would sit down to write, I would have this freak out, you know? Those people who know what like spiritual emergence / spiritual emergency is will like understand there's the classic symptoms that like you need to change direction. But I didn't really know that. And I was really a push through, get the degree, get the grades kind of person. And so it would just get worse and worse. And I would like set up my little space and get my little tea and make it cozy and get all ready, have my notebooks and my computer. And I would just be flipping out, huge emotional surges, really unhappy. And so I sat down and I wrote a list, 2 lists next to each other on the piece of paper. And one side was what I wanted out of life. And the other side was why I was getting a PhD. And I thought it was going to reinvigorate my efforts, you know, but actually what it showed me was, first, all the things I wanted out of life, none of them needed a PhD. And my main role models who were already doing that, hardly any of them had PhDs. So it's not like I needed that. And then the second list was things that I wanted out of, things that I thought the PhD was going to get me, thank you, were either outdated, I no longer wanted them, or they were ego-based. Like people will finally think I'm smart if I have a PhD, or my family will love and respect me more because my older sister has a PhD. And so when I looked at it honestly, I just realized that rather than having that list make me more excited about the program, it showed me that I had to not do it anymore. And so then I talked to my school, and it was a school for transpersonal psychology. So in order for them to put their money where their mouth was, they had to be authentic, and they were really great. And they were like, well, okay, we understand. If you ever want to come back, we'll put a note in your file and you can finish and whatever. So far, I've never wanted to. That was in 2010. And and then I actually, right after I stopped going, I wrote so hard. I wrote my first book in under a month. I was like Journal of the Starseed. I just pounded it out. And then it was published the same weekend I would have walked to get my diploma.
Oh, that feels like a sign or something.
And also, the thing about academia is that you can't have an original thought very easily. Like every single thing you think, you have to name a bunch of other people who've thought the same thing. And so it's kind of like this incestuous thing, and no one reads it. Like it's you give a year of your life to this thing, and then it sits on a shelf getting dusty. And so now people actually read the book I wrote, which is essentially the same thing as a dissertation would have been. So what it's taught me afterward, though, is what school is all about, and how to really be an expert in something. I've even been thinking about like starting a degree program, like an unofficial, of course, unaccredited one. But it's like after you know a certain amount of stuff, and after you feel a certain amount of confidence, and you've studied a certain amount and stuff like that, you can teach on it. Like you're an expert in it, whether or not anyone chooses to give you a degree because they filled out the right papers and paid the right people to be accredited and be able to give out degrees. You know.
Yeah,
I
totally agree about schooling. So let me just get my lighting here better. Let's see.
Oh sure, yeah.
I look yellow. I look yellow. All right,
golden. It's golden.
Yeah, a golden light shimmering down on me. Okay, so you call yourself a magician, and I absolutely love that, because I call myself a magician too. And my question is, what is magic to you, and how can we start using our magic to create a better world here?
Okay. Ooh, what is magic? That's a really good question. To me, I think that if I were to define magic, it would have to be it's like a multi-part definition, I guess. It would be first of all, believing, but not through blind belief, through testing it out and looking and observation and authentic, like understanding that there is energy that connects all things everywhere, you know, because none of it's real. This whole thing is a hologram, right? And so that's the first part. And then the second part is learning your own unique ways of sensing what's going on, which are going to be different for every person, but which various wisdom traditions have taught. All of them, really. Every religion teaches a different version. Every wisdom tradition teaches a different version. They're all true. Just finding the ones that align with you in question. And then learning how to navigate, and I kind of think of it like, have you seen, I'm not sure if it's called parasailing, but when they have those handles and they're like pulling the parachute and they're going in the wind, it's like sailing really, but rather than using currents of wind, you're using currents of energy. And so it can be something like you go and you actually make the physical act. Say you're trying to get a job. Like one way you can do it is make the physical act of go fill out the paperwork, do the thing, walk your little self to the thing, drop off the paper and all that kind of stuff, make the calls, do the searching. And that's expending a certain amount of energy. But also you could do it through less physical means and more energetic means. Eventually you're going to have to do physical stuff either way. But I think so long as you start looking and tweaking and not using blind belief ever, but always like testing things out and seeing what works and stuff like that, it's just as legitimate a path. And often in my experience, it works better than just kind of pounding your head against walls using physical logic, which may or may not be accurate. It might just be stuff that people taught you. And I'm glad that I got all that schooling out of the way, because now I know what science says. And much of what I do is not because I learned it in school. Much of what I teach now, even though the degrees are the same words as what I actually do now, it's in spite of what I learned in school, because what I learned is what they're teaching is not right. Like it's like just, I'm not talking about like morality. I'm just talking about pragmatism. Like it just doesn't work, you know?
That's a good point.
Yeah. So just learning how to do it and then doing it. That's magic. Like learning how to navigate and then navigating.
Yeah, I totally agree. To basically just surrender to the moment and do what you can do in the moment, and just not try to push things. I know that when I'm unhappiest, I am being ungrateful for what I have, and I'm just trying to like think of things, like force my life into this perfect place with thinking, and it just never works. So it's been the hardest thing for me to let go of my mind, because I'm such a mental like person. But it's definitely changed my life for the better. So we'll change the topic to that, intuition. Okay. So you say, or just go into that topic. So you say that you feel you're obviously a very sixth sensory being. I think we all are, but you know, some of us are just using that sort of muscle more. That's the way I look at it. It's like a muscle we can flex, sort of thing. So you say that you feel connected to other realms of existence. When did you first start becoming aware of these realms, and how can other people start tapping into their intuition?
Okay, Okay, so I've always kind of been aware of it, but as a child and then as an adolescent, you know, when you do something your whole life, it seems normal and you don't realize that maybe everyone isn't doing the same thing, especially if it's something you don't talk about, like intuitive stuff, because it makes people uncomfortable. And also I was raised in a really anti-intuitive religion. So
Oh, which one?
a Jehovah's Witness until I was about 11 or 12. So it was
Oh,
very much like, oh, that's demonism. Don't ever do anything like that, you know?
oh my gosh.
So, but this stuff was going on in the back of my mind. I didn't know it because it wasn't wrong, right? I mean, you can tell if something feels right or feels wrong or just feels normal. So, but I had a really kind of displacing spiritual emergence / spiritual awakening when I was 20 years old. And it rocked my world. I thought I was going crazy. I thought I was either coming down with adult onset schizophrenia or multiple personality disorder. I was like convinced.
Oh, because of schooling.
Yeah, because I was like, I'm seeing things and I'm hearing things and I know things I shouldn't know, and I have delusions of grandeur about having an important mission on this planet, and I must be out of my mind, you know?
Yeah.
And then the stuff was coming true, and I missed a huge traffic accident because of a voice in my head telling me to hit the brake. Not just the sense that something was going to happen, but a freaking voice in my head. So I was like, okay, clearly this isn't a hallucination. And so then I started studying what academia had to say about like shamanism and from the lens of school. And then after that, I went kind of into the more transpersonal route in the mind-body medicine. And I studied like earth-based spirituality. Like I studied Wicca for a little while. I never identified as a Wiccan, but certain pieces of spirit technology have been kept in that spiritual path, and they're really powerful. So things like, you know, communing with the weather and changing what was going on in the weather systems, and, you know, having other people see me do it. So it was not just me thinking maybe I'm making this up, but like other people seeing that it worked and things like that. And so that's when I realized that I could trust myself. And that was about almost 10 years ago now. So then since then, I've just kind of been steadily studying it like any kind of degree program, you know, but the universe has shown me. And the way, if anyone wants to learn to access their intuition, I would tell them to just go to the library or, you know, start doing YouTube binges and Google binges, which everyone probably does at night anyway. But the library is really cool too, especially if it's a nice big library. Go to the 100 section, which is all the like esoteric spirituality stuff, and just look at the shelf and see what jumps off at you, and take it down, read as much as you want, then do another one and take it down, read as much as you want, and just allow your intuition to guide your study of intuition. And then use practices you see. Yeah, and see what works and what doesn't. Because every single, like for instance, for me, muscle testing does not work. I'm just not a good muscle tester. It's just not, I know people who are amazing muscle testers. I have a friend who can buy lunch for everyone at the table, muscle testing exactly what they would want. Like
how does it work? How does it work exactly?
From what I understand about muscle testing, it's like, so things that are true, things that are more aligned with the energy that goes through all stuff, have a stronger connection between them. So for instance, my Reiki teacher years ago, she did muscle testing by making a loop between her pinky finger and her thumb. And then she would say something true. Like you can say, okay, like my name is Christina, and I'll say my name is Charis. And then she would break the connection and see how easy or difficult it was to break it with her other hand. And when there were things that were true, it would be harder to break. And when there were things that weren't true, it would be easy to break. So she'd be like, okay, how many drops of this essential oil do you need? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. You need 4, because it was like hard to break the thing. And I've seen people do it, and I've seen it work. That's just not my thing. It just doesn't really work for me, so I don't do that, you know?
Yeah. No, yeah. I think it definitely, everybody has different strengths and weaknesses and things that they can hone, and different gifts that they came into this world with that they can use to help other people. Which brings me to my next question. What do you think your main psychic gifts are? And do you think that everybody has the ability to step into their intuition?
I think everyone has the ability to step into their intuition. Absolutely, yes. I think it's part of being human. I think that everybody has it. I think that it's like music. You know, you can learn to play a musical instrument, but some people are just like all about it and can't get away from it. And that's kind of how I feel about me and intuition is whenever I've tried to dampen it in my life, I've gotten depressed, I've gotten sick, my body started breaking down. You know, it just, that's one of my missions. And so if I don't do it, I don't work very well, you know?
Yeah.
But I would say that my strengths are empathy, like feeling with my emotional body what other people are feeling and what like the land is feeling and nature is feeling and animals are feeling. So it comes to me through emotions and like energy flow in my body that I can sense kind of like kind of like if you focus, you can feel your heart beating, like that kind of very subtle sense. But if you focus on it for a while, you can tell. And also, I can see kind of, it's kind of like geometry. It's kind of like airflow or water flow, but I can kind of experience what's happening in the ways that I guess life force is moving through things. So if there's a really stuck area, I can feel that. If there's a high flow area, I can feel that. If energy is like spiraling around and spirals vortices the way that it does in Sedona, I'm kind of aware of that. You know, that kind of thing. So that's mine. There's other stuff I'm not necessarily that good at. And I'm pretty good at manifestation, but I think everyone's good at that, especially if you learn the way that you are good at it and then you start following that down.
Very cool. So next question would be past lives. You've talked about them, I think, on your channel before. Do you remember any of yours, and why do you think that it's good to start investigating that kind of stuff and like remembering soul fragments or anything like that? Like, do you have any thoughts?
I remember. I remember lots of past lives. I remember past lives on Earth. I remember past lives in space. I know that there are plenty more that I don't remember. And I don't really remember start to end of any of them. I remember a lot of one, maybe just a couple glimpses of another. I think that we incarnate the way that you put on clothes every day, or the way that you wear costumes when you're kids. You know, if you have a kid has a costume chest and they put on these costumes, they don't just have tea parties all day. They have wars. They lock each other in dungeons. They kill each other in their little games. So we kind of do that kind of stuff. We
That's
just
a good way to look
all
at
of
it.
And so I think that so I believe that everyone has past lives. I don't believe there's anyone who is only here for the first time these days. And I also don't believe, even in the starseed kind of thing, I don't think that there's very many people around who haven't incarnated on Earth ever before. I think that you can have lived 100 times on Earth, and then you can live 10,000 times elsewhere. So you'll still feel like you're new here, you know?
Good.
But
I'm just like processing that information. Cool.
Yeah, like I think that I've been around from the beginning. I remember one before humans ever incarnated here. I remember helping form the humans up, you know.
Wow.
But I also know that I was elsewhere. I was already really, really old then, you know. Sometimes like a really, really old being in this like young woman's body. It's kind of trippy, you know. But I think that if you're into it, like it's like anything. If you're not into it, don't research it, you know?
Yeah.
But if you're, and people who are into it shouldn't make people who aren't into it research it, you know? Because that's like putting their belief on others. But if you are, I think that it's handy because it is handy in the same way that thinking about what you did when you were little is handy, especially if there's trauma. A lot of people think about past lives as, okay, well, I had these traumas that now I have to heal. So I don't know why I have this fear of water. Oh, it's because you got drowned in a past life. Okay, great. So now that I know I was drowned in a past life, then I can like heal this fear of water the way that you can if you have a childhood trauma that you don't remember. It's pretty much exactly the same, you know. Another time, another body, like our children version of our bodies are different than our adult version of our bodies, and a trauma that you might not remember. And on the other hand, something that's talked about less, that I've seen at least, is that if you really spent a bunch of lifetimes honing a certain kind of skill that maybe now you don't have as easy access to, but if you crack that open in your ancient memory, now you can do that stuff. Yeah. And that's what I'm into. I'm like, I want to remember all the stuff I knew how to do in like ancient Babylon and like when we were flying through space and all this other kind of stuff.
Instead of, you're totally right. A lot of people focus on the negative, and they're like, well, you know, I have this fear and I must have been a witch and I was burned and that's why I'm afraid of fire. That's what I have personally.
But all the above.
But you're totally right. I feel like we have so many past life gifts that we can sort of just tap into. And I remember when I started to get more serious on my practice and I started meditating and I started experimenting with all these things, I suddenly remembered that I could read birth charts and like do astrology, and like it just started coming to me so easily. And I was like, this is not the first time I've studied astrology, and I just have to like unlock this again. So that's really, really cool. Let's see. What are your opinions on soulmates and twin flames? Do you think they exist? Like, I just want to hear your opinion because there's so many, right? There's so many.
And my opinion has varied. Like,
yeah, me too.
I used to, well, okay. Here's my opinion on soulmates and twin flames. I think that they've been Disney-fied in our culture some. Now, I love Disney. I'm not saying Disney's bad. I think that Disney does a lot of great things for people. But I also do think that it just takes a whole wide range of amazing experience when it comes to romance and squishes it into this 1 or 2 or 3 little paths that are shown as a potential path. And so I think that what twin flames and soulmates do, in the literature that I don't really agree with, is there are a lot of people saying, oh, I'm so unhappy until my twin flame shows up. My life is not worth living because, and I don't for one freaking second, and I'm going to get upset about this, think that you're a half a soul and the other person is the other half of your soul, and you split into 2, a masculine and a feminine. I think that is complete crap, actually.
Wow.
I don't think that that's true. Like, no offense to the people who say it. Like, I'm sure that there's a reason that that info is around, but if that's something that people are limited by, you know, if they think that they can't be happy until they find that, I just don't believe that it's true. Yeah. I think personally that we all have quite a few soulmates out there. Like, I think that, I mean, the last time I was single and was like, okay, what's up with that? I felt like around 30 something potentials on the planet that I could have a really delicious, amazing, intense, insightful, connected life with.
Cool.
And if you just want to have a pretty happy life, I think there are even more than that. But as far as like the twin flame things go, I honestly think, and I haven't thought about this in a really long time, so my opinion has changed, but I think that it's probably also people you just got a lot of history with. And I don't necessarily think that twin flames are people you're supposed to be with for your entire life. I think some people have really beautiful relationships with twin flames that last a few years, and then they move on to something else. So I think that it's just, when it comes down to it, I think that the reason that people use those words is because they want to define this feeling of like, oh, I know you, I've known you, it doesn't make sense in this body, but I remember you, I want to be with you again. Like, yeah, that's out there. But I know I felt that for more than one person over this lifetime already, you know?
You just made me think of the question. So I have met people and I've felt a connection with them, and it's been so overwhelming to me that it's been like, I feel so much energy. I feel so much like power and excitement inside of me, and I just want to like know you and touch you and be with you, but I can't, because it's been in a weird situation, like at a work situation or etc., things like that. And I'm like, what do? I just want to tell you everything I know about you because I can see your soul. Like, I just want to tell you right now, but I can't. So, or I feel like I can't. So my question is, what do you do when you meet those people? Like, how do you like subtly tell them like, dude, I know you, like we got karma, we got to clear together kind of thing?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I had this experience. It was maybe a couple years long, and I met someone, and I was never with this person. We never even kissed, and now it is all harmonized out. But we were friends, and we were with other people, and we didn't cheat on them with each other, nothing like that. But when I was walking up to be introduced to this person, and when I saw him, my entire aura went clunk, clunk, like a combination lock.
Wow.
And the only words in my mind were, oh no.
Oh,
and from the very moment that I met him, I loved him like a wife. Not even like a girlfriend, not even like a lover. Like, I just loved him completely unconditionally. And I couldn't even, and the thing was, in my physical body, where I was at, where he was at, our situations, even what we were like in this lifetime, I didn't even want to be with him. Like, I knew that it wouldn't be a good matchup. But I felt this incredible pull, and then I didn't see him for a really long time, and I fell in love with other people and whatever. And then the next time I ran into him, I was like, oh my gosh, this person's going to be there. Oh, it's going to be nice to see him. And then I saw him, and clunk, clunk, again. It was back. I was like, oh, this is not fun, you know?
Oh my gosh.
So, and so I got really mad at the universe, and I was like, okay, you need to show me what the hell this is, because I don't like wanting something I can't have. I don't like feeling like a bad person because I want this person and I really love and respect the person that he's with. And so I don't want to do that. You know, it feels uncontrollable. I don't like it. And so I did this meditation. I did a past life exercise that I got from the book called, it's a book by Sylvia Brown. Okay. And it's the only book I've ever read by her. It's a phenomenal exercise she gives in the end of it called, the book is called If You Could See What I See, or something like that. And the exercise in the end is one where you go back to experience something coming up in your past lives. Like, if you have a thing coming up, you can go and look and say, why is this here? And I've kind of put tiny tweaks on it, just the way you do when you use the technique over the years, but it's very valuable. And I went back and I was like, okay, where do I know you from and what's going on? And what I saw was this vision of how he and I had been together at one point. It was on this planet. It was way, way, way back when magic was really commonly used. Like, it wasn't even a big deal. But it's like, at various times throughout the planetary history, things have needed to be broken. It's like in the very beginning when we were setting up all these like crystal grid factories, and we knew that the Earth, we were about to push her into this whole cycle of like the humans and the dramas, because at the end of it, we will have learned the most amazing stuff. And the planet volunteered to do this because she's going to get the most amazing stuff out of it once it all comes back. And over the course of time, there have been these certain times that we've made these moves, right? And so it wasn't just me and him. I think it was a lot of people all over the place. But I remember a meditation that we did together, and we were crying and sad, and I was going into his mind, and we both knew this was going on, and breaking connections that the divine masculine had with source. So that we could have the dramas with the masculine and the feminine to get what we're getting. And the reason that I had that pull to him was because I needed to give it back to him. Like, here I was meeting him again, so I needed to help him like make those freaking connections again. It was an unfinished equation. And so I could have done it, for instance, if the experience had been right, I could have done it by having a really intense relationship with him and dating for 3 months and having lots of sex and doing it that way. Or we could do it through an eye-gazing meditation and conversation, or
like tantra,
letters. Like this is how, not even sexual. Like or I could do like here's the way you do this practice. Boom, 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 boom. Here, like there could be a million different ways that I redid these connections. What I was feeling was that I needed to help him reset those things that I had helped him break.
That's really clever. So you
and I have seen him since, and it's all good now. He feels like a brother now. That's harmonized. Yeah.
Good. That's what happens sometimes with those relationships too. It's like, okay, we're not gonna be boyfriend and girlfriend. We're soul brothers now. That's good. Everything's harmonized. But that's so awesome that you don't necessarily have to, make a physical connection to set things right, sort of thing. So that's a good tip for
neither
people.
Is right or wrong, it's just like whatever feels right. But I don't think I'm not really into following what my intuition tells me and crashing out my physical life and needing to clean it up. I'd rather just find win-wins for everybody.
So you are an embodiment of the divine feminine to me, and I think you're a really amazing role model for women, especially. So my question is, how do women, maybe like even younger women watching, or more sensitive, empathic people who are just overwhelmed with all the programming from the media and everything, how do they, or how does everybody, how do women step into their divine feminine power? And how do people like balance out those masculine and feminine energies in general? Like,
okay, that's like such a huge question. I'm still figuring it out myself. No, it's great. It's great. I think that, well, we all have the masculine and the feminine within us. We just have more of one than the other often. I've met some truly androgynous people, and they're so gorgeous. I'm thinking of a couple right now. This one man that I know, and he's this beautiful young man, and his nails are always like perfectly manicured, but he doesn't like wear polish on them or anything. And the skin is beautiful. He's just a beautiful person. I love him, and he's I think he's gay. I'm not sure. We've never talked about it, but that's my assumption. Anyway, so I think that, well, first, intuitive, you have to follow your own inner
we're losing you. Can you? I've lost you. We'll just wait a second. Charis! She's in Hawaii, so maybe she'll come back. Maybe she's on her Wi-Fi or something. Let's see. We'll just wait a second. Oh, shoot! Maybe she'll come back. We'll wait like a minute.
Oh, good. There you are. Sorry.
Okay, good.
I don't know. I think that was me. I think that was my little internet card did a weird thing.
Okay.
Okay, so I think that, well, archetypes are really handy for this. Like studying mythological, gods and goddesses, or just people. It could not even be a mythological thing. It could be an actual person, but one that inspires you. Figuring out what it is about them that inspires you, and then emulating that for as long as it feels right. And I'm not really into copying. Okay, so I think there's this archetypal thing that happens. I think when sometimes one of the potential evolutionary paths is that when you evolve to a certain level, you stop necessarily incarnating like one-to-one soul to body again, and you kind of split off and become an archetype. So that's why like there are all these women that are like, I channel Mary Magdalene, I was Mary Magdalene, da da da. It's like, well, yeah, they all were, because she's now a little piece in a bunch of different people. Or like Joan of Arc, or like Mother Mary, or like Isis, you know, all these kinds of things. Like I think these, or Cleopatra, you know, like I think she's one of the ones actually in history that we can look at and go say, oh, she went archetypal. Which is like a bunch of people have this piece.
That's a good way to look at it. I've never thought about it like that before.
I think something fun to do is rather to be like, I was this other person. I want to think about my future lives and be like, I want to say I was Charis. You know?
That's great. Yeah.
Like put it that way. Because then it brings like the empowerment back, you know. But then I can also say, like, I do feel I have memories of being Inanna and walking through those huge lapis lazuli gates in Uruk and like feeling my energy go down into the earth with every step. But I do know that I had way more poise in that lifetime than I do now, because I couldn't handle it now yet. You know, maybe eventually I'll be able to, but I swear every single gentle footstep on the ground, I felt my energy could clunk down into the ground like hundreds of meters, you know. So that's why we don't have that kind of stuff, because we would be flailing all over the time and freaking out. So it kind of grows as we grow, you know.
Yeah.
And we're all a piece of all of it. And so different people have different focus points, you know. But I think like anything, your intuition will guide you. If you're really into a certain story, if you're really into a certain culture or archetype or being or whatever, study it, embody it, let yourself be that for a couple days or a month or a year, and then you'll come back out of it and you'll have those pieces like in you, and you can be you, you know.
Yeah, good advice. So my next question is, how do we cope with the negativity of others? How do we cope with like not constructive criticism, and how do we just continue to walk our path fearlessly?
Yeah, that's something that I think everyone struggles with. I don't think there's anyone on this planet who never gets tripped up by someone saying you're stupid or whatever. You know, happens to me absolutely, like especially with being out on the internet, because people say things on the internet that they would never ever say to your face. And so sometimes I'm just like, why would you even take the time
I know.
Like, I don't even understand. But what I do, at least, and I'm still working on this because it's definitely something it's progression. But what I first do is I say, okay, well, is that true? Is there, especially if I'm triggered by it, is there any part of me that believes that whatever it is they accused me of? And if there is, then I start handling that, right? In whatever ways. But if there's not, so let's just assume that there's not, like, okay, well, I don't believe that I smell like a pig, right? Okay, let's just say, right? Okay. So then what it is because it sends a little divot. I feel like it puts like a little divot in your energy field. It's like they bite a chunk out of your energy field, you know? And that's also why if you show that you're upset, they'll come back for more. So first of all, I think the very best thing to do is just not say anything. Sit on your hands, bite your tongue, just don't say anything. And because if you do, from that place, you're going to have to clean it up later, you know?
Yeah.
And then
too many times.
Oh yeah.
I react out of anger. Why am I fighting with this person? Like, oh my god.
Because here's the thing: if what you're gonna say is the perfect response, if it really is, then you can wait a day or two, and it will still be the perfect response.
Good advice. Very good advice.
So then what I do is I say, okay, well, do I really, really love myself? Do I believe that I'm worthy of love? Absolutely. Like, do I think that I'm lovable? And the answer is yes, you know, because we all are, just as much as any other being on this planet. And so then if you come back and you're like, okay, so I am lovable and I don't believe that's true. Okay, then that means that that person's projecting for some reason, right? Like something about me triggered them. Okay, but taking them again out of the equation, because there's no such thing as them, it's all me, right? Inside of my head, who knows? I can never really tell what another person is thinking or feeling. So what is this showing me? Is it showing me that I'm going too far in the opposite direction? Is it showing me that I'm wobbling too far in this direction? Is it showing me, is it showing me that I'm caring too much about what other people think? You know, because that's what mine usually ends up being. And I usually just sometimes I need to just completely step away from the internet for a couple days, you know, and just be like, I'm just not going to open my computer. You know, I'm just not going to.
Yeah, that perfectly leads into my next question, which is, how do we balance social media with real life? Like, how can we use it as a tool but not let it consume us?
Yeah, well, like Facebook and YouTube, right? They're monsters, right? The internet is a monster, and I love the monster, like I do, but I don't forget that it's a monster. You have to navigate it with consciousness. And so I think that, first of all, it's not blaming anyone else for our own shit. It's not saying, oh, well, the world would be perfect if it wasn't for this and this and this, because I'm creating this world. So if it's imperfect, then that means there's stuff that I need to clean up inside myself, or else it wouldn't be reflecting this stuff to me. And so, and it all comes down to self-love. It all comes down to knowing that you deserve to live a beautiful, loving existence, just like any other being in these cosmos. And so well, first, I have a couple little rules, like about Facebook. As soon as I start scrolling on Facebook, I know I've been on there too long, so I get off. You know, generally what I do on Facebook, and if someone posts something that makes my energy go boom, there's this. Okay, so I'm going to talk about being contradictory to myself right now, but there are some bits of media that say that they're educating, like, for the light, that I think are actually dark. Yeah. And I think, like, for instance, there are some of the movies that are convincing people to go vegan, or so they think that they are. But it actually, when you use these shock tactics, it actually, just psychologically, it solidifies the thing that people are doing, because they're like, I'm not going to let you scare me out of this. I'm going to go eat another cow. You know what I mean? And that's just pragmatically, that's just how it works. So that stuff just does not work. Like well, it's pretty much anytime you get attacked, right? Like if you attack people for doing something that you're going to judge, then you're not going to make them stop doing it unless they're going to say, okay, well, your opinion of me means more to me than my opinion of me. It just doesn't work very well. It's just not really a way to build a world. So for me, what it usually ends up being is, I can tell that I'm online too much if I start feeling drained, or if I start feeling like I need to go on, or if I start, but I do feel a certain kind of pull, because my work is on the internet, you know, like the computer is my instrument. Like, it's just kind of how I express in this lifetime. So the way it works with me is I'll feel like a bubble up of intuition. I'll be like, or of creativity rather. I'll be like, it's almost like a teapot that you're boiling. And after a while, it's like, ooh, I've got it, and it forms up, and I'm out here, and I see it this way to take this perfect picture, and then I've got the words to come to post with it, and boom, 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 great. And then I feel like I put something on the internet. I also, it's a personal belief. I don't think that necessarily everyone needs to feel like this, but I believe strongly that everything that I do and say, I want to have a certain kind of effect on the person reading it, and I always want to uplift, inspire, expand, and make people feel more empowered. And so like the ranting kind of energy, I'm not going to judge other people for doing it, but I know that if I let myself rant, it doesn't help me. It actually hurts me and hurts everybody else. So that's, but if I start feeling too, like I need to post something, like it's been too long, and I'm like, oh no, I need to, that's bad. Whatever I'm going to come out with is not what I want to be coming out with. And so you can just kind of tell, you can kind of navigate by how you feel inside. If it feels like itchy and bothersome and like, oh no, I have to see what people are saying, or let me go see if anyone commented on this thing, or da-da-da-da-da, you know, that I think that that's not bringing up our chi and making us fountain out energy. I think that that's kind of like having almost like a mutually vampiric relationship with the internet as a being, and also with everyone else. So not getting our chi from it, not giving our chi to it, just looking at it like it's a fellow creature on this planet, because I think everyone can agree that the internet is at this point an entity. It has its own consciousness. So treating it like you do anything. Yeah,
I think it's important just to remember to come from love. And I remember when I first started making my YouTube videos, I was so obsessed with understanding occult knowledge and everything like that, that I was like, the world is messed up, people, you gotta know. And I was freaking people out. And I deleted like a whole bunch of my videos, and people were like, are you an anarchist? Like, you want to join my group? And I was like, no, like, but
all paths are important, you know. It's like the Christian haters, like sometimes if you're in a really constrictive religion, and this happens a lot with Christianity, and then when people break away, they have to hate Christianity for a while. And I went through that stage when I was a teenager, and I think it's an important stage to go through, but it's just a stage. And I think when people get stuck there, it gets corroded, and it just doesn't appeal to me. But I do think that every single thing that someone is inspired to make, if you're inspired to make it, there's someone who needs to hear it. So I think that there's room for all of it. I just think that we just have to find our own thing that works with us, you know. Yeah,
don't do things for other people. Just do it because your heart wants to do it. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, expressing, because if you're expressing to make someone else do something, you're vampiring.
Yeah.
You know? But if you're expressing it because you want to express something, then that's art.
Yeah. Good, perfect analysis for me. That's logical. Okay. So I remember when I was working at a job I really, really did not like. I would bus to work and I would watch your videos and I'd be like, oh, Charis is amazing. This girl's like doing everything I want to do. And then I would go home on the bus and be like, okay, watch more Charis. I would watch your videos religiously. And I was like, I remember this video, an older video, you were saying you didn't like, you know, working 9 to 5, you had some secretary job or something.
Yeah.
And so you created reality, you manifested a reality where you could be your own boss and set your own hours. And I was like, okay, I have to do this. And it took time, but I did it eventually. And now, you know, I set my own hours. I can go to work in my pajamas if I want to.
Yeah, congratulations.
And I'm so happy about that. And sometimes I still feel like this longing, like this craving for more. And I know that it's not going to get me what I want, but it's like I feel like I just keep thinking, I don't know, like I need to have more things, more authority, more power. It's just so stupid. Because I know that, but by wanting it, I'm not going to get it. I'm going to be in that state of, you know, craving.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to even be happy if I get it. So
well,
basically, like how do you love what you have created or manifested already? Because I feel like I work so hard and I'm like, okay, another day now, which is crazy. Which is crazy.
Yeah. Well, there are practices you can use. Like, I think this is something that especially those of us who have like, I don't want to imply that anything else is small, but I'm just going to say, like, with that caveat, like big missions, right? Which, I mean, talking to you and looking at your eyes and feeling your energy clearly, in my opinion, you do. You know,
yeah. I feel like an old soul.
Something I know, right? This isn't something you can't judge it. You know, you can't be like, oh, well, I must be bad. Because my thought is, I was just talking about this, like, okay, so when I stopped working 9 to 5, when I did my tour, like I did my time in the industry, I tried not to I tried to be normal. You know, like I didn't come out the gates thinking I was going to be some crazy magician publicly, you know, like I thought I was going to be a normal person and live a normal life and have a picket fence and children and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But it just didn't work out. And it wasn't what I did for very long, you know. So first of all, I think it's coming to terms with the fact that if you feel a pull to do something, that means there's someone who needs it. Right? If you need to write something, that means there's someone who's longing to read it. If you need to post something, that means there's someone who needs to see it, because it's an equation. Everything's an equation, right? So, so when I first stopped, now I had a life that was, I was the richest person I knew, and I didn't make that much money. I just lived super inexpensively. So, oh shoot, my battery's at 14%. I hope it doesn't go out soon.
Okay, well, we'll finish up pretty soon then.
Yeah, I lived super inexpensively, but for me, I was rich because I had everything I needed. All I really cared about was like organic food to eat and places to hang out and my internet and my phone payment and the things that I needed. So my life cost about as much as it would have cost staying in one place, but I was nomadic instead. So rather than paying rent, I paid Airbnb rather than, you know, like those kinds of things. And so that was, so I was free and ferrying out and so excited about it. And then I started feeling the need to ground and root and create more of a steady pace. And so now that's what I'm into. And now I'm starting to need to branch out more. I'm like, okay, well, why do I feel this need? And I'm like, wait, if I could do everything I wanted, I was just having this conversation yesterday. Like, because I look around at, you know, big corporations and I'm like, ooh, that is not so, it doesn't feel so good to me. And I don't ever want to be the things that feel not good to me. However, I do feel this like, kind of like a spirit ambition, you know, which is, I think, what you're talking about. I'm like, okay, so what is it that I would do? Well, I would have all these eco-friendly clothing companies that are really versatile clothes that are inexpensive and that are feeding people who can make them from the heart and doing microloans and all this kind of stuff. And I would have eco villages that people could go stay at. And then I would have a whole company of people who helped you like make your house off grid and feel really luxurious and amazing for cheaper than you could build with normal building materials and stuff like that. So in my mind, it's kind of like charging for services. In the very beginning, I had some hate come at me because people were like, it's spiritual, you shouldn't charge for it. And I'm like, wait, you mean if you go to the doctor, you think they shouldn't charge you because it's their mission? Or if you get a massage, like if you get a massage, you think you shouldn't pay because anyone can rub your body, so therefore you shouldn't pay for a massage, you know, those kinds of things. But now the way I feel is if I have a product that someone gets and I know that it's going to make them more abundant because the codes I'm bringing through are the best and the brightest that I understand, my intention is that they get whatever improvement that they need and to serve the harmonic and also their individual selves, then I feel fine charging for it.
Yeah.
You know, like I feel okay.
Fine.
It's like the fractal. And so what you're talking about is like, you want more power. What I would say is like, look at the power. What does that mean to you? Power over what? Power over who? And then how you harmonize it? How does it plug in, right? And then as soon as you realize it, all you gotta do is like forget about it, and then it will just show up.
I
because
know,
when
that's
you
the
really,
trick.
yeah, when you really want something, especially if your egos can be attached to it, you won't get it until your ego doesn't care anymore. But then as soon as you don't care anymore, it shows right up, and you're like, oh yeah, it's that thing that I wanted.
I know. That's why I meditate. That's why I just, I do my visualizations and then let go of it. I really try.
Yeah, exactly.
Hard.
That's the best type of manifestation. It's you manifest, you focus really, really hard, and you come back here and you into the here and now, and you remember, oh yeah, this is exactly the life I was trying to have. Yeah. So let me enjoy it. Let me like love the fact that it's like, what is today? A Friday afternoon. I'm sitting in freaking Hawaii and not like longing, looking out my office window, like, please, I just wish I could go sit under that tree. Like, and so I think that you can get what you need. Just enjoy where you are, and that like lubricates the reality to bring in what you want. So you can absolutely do both. And if you want, it's like being hungry. When you're hungry, you need to get the food. When you're eating the food, you're not really hungry anymore, then you're eating it. But if you never notice that you're hungry, if you're like, no, this universe has plenty of food in it, I shouldn't be hungry.
That's a good example. Yeah, that's a good example. Just enjoy what you have in the moment, basically, and
try.
And
don't be
I don't think that desiring is necessarily bad. I think attaching to it is the thing.
Desiring is what drives us. That's what makes us, like, God didn't want a bunch of little babies. Like, God wanted to make more gods, like to create this more reality and to keep going. Like, that's what I think, at least.
Okay, so since your batteries are gonna run out, I'll ask you one really like fun question, which is, how's Burning Man? Because I've never been and I want to know about it.
Oh my gosh, I had an aura migraine and I had to run away halfway in the middle first. That's something I didn't put in the public video because I don't know, I did, but just didn't get it. Okay, so Burning Man is amazing. People's hearts are so open. Their eyes are open. Like, I've never seen anything like it. Okay. Yeah. And I've been around, like, spiritually, and I've never seen anything like it. But since most people use this as the one time in the year that they flex, for me, who like kind of lives there all the time, this crazy flexing, which feels really, really good for people who need it. Like, if I had gone 5 to 7 years ago, I would have been like, oh my gosh, it's amazing, But for me, it hurt me. All of the, because there are a lot of drugs there. I ain't hating. That's fine. There's a time and place for everything, and people have the most incredible experiences, and it lets them like take off all these shackles that culture puts on, right? Yeah. So that's great. But the huge flex, I got an aura migraine. I don't know how else to describe it. I was just sitting there really miserable, crying. Like, I could just feel everything. It was just too intense for me. Wow. So on Thursday, and I think I will do this every year, on Thursday, we left, we went to Reno, we got a hotel, had a bath, ate food at a restaurant, and then went back Friday for the rest of it. And I felt wonderful. And I think I'll do that every year. That's just for me. And I spent most of the time in my tent. Like, Burning Man was amazing, but I didn't go party really at all. Like, it was amazing to see what a new paradigm reality can be like. That's what it was for me, and I will keep going. But I brought tons of crystals. I lined my tent with crystals. I like hung out in there and out on the deep quiet, and I went around like a tourist looking around. I was like, this is amazing. I met lots of cool people. There was just tons of love everywhere. But I didn't really interact all that much, and that's okay, because I tend to cloister up. I kind of need a lot of alone time. It's kind of
overwhelming for empathic people to be in those huge crowds. Like, I love it, but I do feel overwhelmed, especially because
I would go on field trips and come home. Yeah, and my intent is next year. So if you want to come, let me know, because next year I want to have like a bunch of like goddessy types where we can kind of have our pod where we're camped and like know that the energy there you can relax into it, and then we can like go out and have fun and stuff, and then come back to home base and center again and stuff. So awesome. That's what I did, and it worked great. It worked great for me.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so last question before we go is, what is your happy place? It can be a physical place or somewhere you go in meditation. What place is, like, makes you feel so good?
I have a couple. I've made a place in meditation when I first started to meditate that was like a stone gazebo by a waterfall, and I can kind of go there whenever I need to recharge. My happy place is really sitting in a tree somewhere.
Yeah,
like that's what it is. Like, if I can climb up in a tree and sit and just like love the tree and have my aura plug in, and then like feel all the other trees, and that's where I'm happiest, I think. Or getting all dressed up and going out to some amazing thing. I love doing that too.
Yeah, so, and you're a Taurus, right? Taurus?
Yeah.
Yeah, I checked your birthday on Facebook. You have the same birthday as my little sister.
Oh, what? That's
So
cool.
I know your
That's
energy very,
neat.
very, very, very well. It's very strong. So it's good that you're channeling it into something good for the world.
Thank you.
So yeah, thank you so much for joining me today. I had such a blast. It was like, it's just surreal because I used to watch you and go, this girl's amazing. And I just feel so
You are amazing.
to talk to you.
Oh,
So
I
yeah,
love
I'm
it.
gonna
Thank
cry.
you so much. Oh, yeah. Thank you for what you do. You're making a big shift in this world. I can tell. I can tell. And
Thank
you're
you.
helping a lot of people. So keep doing it. Yeah.
Yeah,
And thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Okay, bye people.
Okay. Bye. Thanks.